In a quiet, sun-drenched village of Asaba, nestled among rolling hills and rustling palm leaves, lived a young and diligent farmer named Okoro. Every morning before the rooster crowed, Okoro was already awake, his callous hand gripping his hoe, his bare feet pressing into the soft earth of his farmland. Okoro wasn't wealthy. In fact, he barely had enough to get by, but he was respected. He was known far and wide as the farmer who never gave up. Whether the rain poured like buckets or the sun scorched like fire, Okoro would still be out in the field tending to his yams, cassava, and maize with devotion. But fate, as unpredictable as the harmattan wind, had other plans for Okoro. One morning, Okoro woke up with a splitting headache and a burning fever. At first, he tried to brush it off, muttering, "Na small thing, I go shake am off." But as days turned into weeks, his strength faded. His strong hands began to tremble, and even walking to the farm became impossible. Confined to his small house, Okoro watched helplessly as weed overtook his farm. With no one to help him and no income, he was forced to start selling his remaining farm produce just to survive. First, it was a basket of yam, then his cherished tubers of cassava, then the last jug of palm oil. Day by day, his storeroom grew emptier, and his belly became hungrier. One evening, weak and weary, Okoro sat at the entrance of his hut and stared at the horizon. His eyes welled with tears he had fought for weeks to hold back. "Chineke," he whispered, "how did I get here? I used to feed the entire village. Now I can't even feed myself." With nothing left to sell and no strength left to till the soil, Okoro became a shadow of a man he once was. Even the village children who once ran to him for fresh maize began to pass by his house quietly, unsure of what to say to him. One morning, driven by hunger and despair, Okoro ventured into the bush paths behind his house. His legs were weak, his clothes torn, and his spirit nearly broken. He wasn't sure what he was looking for. Maybe some wild fruits, maybe some herbs, maybe just peace. He didn't know what he was looking, but he was just walking. But what he found instead would change his life forever. As Okoro stumbled along the narrow bush paths, the chirping of the birds and the rustling of dry leaves were the only sound that kept his company. His breath was a shadow, his feet dragging like dead weights beneath him. Hunger gnawed at his belly like a wild dog. Every step felt like his last. But just as he was about to give up and collapse beneath a kola tree, something caught his eyes. There, under a shaft of sunlight, filtered through the trees, sat a golden calabash. It shimmered almost unnaturally, like it had swallowed the sun itself. It wasn't dusty like it has been lying there for a long time. In fact, it looked freshly polished, placed deliberately on a flat rock as if waiting for someone to pick it up. Okoro blinked and rubbed his eyes. Am I seeing double? Abi hunger don dey reach my brain? He looked around. No one, no footstep, no sign of life, just the bush and this beautiful calabash. Curious, he staggered towards it. As he got closer, he was drawn by its beauty. The carving around the rims were ancient and intricate, like something out of a lost folktale. The surface glowed faintly, and as Okoro reached out to touch it, a gentle hum filled the air. He placed his hands on the calabash. Suddenly, a warm golden light enveloped him, and a soft melodic voice echoed. "Sing a song for me, and I will grant you your wish. But be warned, your song must be worthy." Okoro jumped back, startled. Who they talk? Who they talk? But the voice came again, calm and gentle. "Sing, Okoro. Sing your heart desires, but let your words be pure and true, and your wish will come true." At first, Okoro thought he was hallucinating, but something deep in his spirit told him this was real. He took a deep breath. Then, with his trembling voice, he began to sing. Golden calabash shining bright, in my darkness be my light. If you can bless me with food today, I will thank you in every way. The moment he finished, the forest grew silent. Then boom! Right in front of him appeared a wooden table, and on it were steaming plate of jollof rice, pounded yam and egusi soup, with grilled catfish, fried plantain, and juicy fruits. Okoro's eyes widened. He couldn't believe it. Tears began to stream down his face. Is this a dream? He fell to his knees and gave thanks. Then he ate and ate and ate until his belly was so round and full and his body felt alive again. When he was done, he looked at the calabash and whispered, "Thank you." He picked it up carefully like a sacred treasure and tucked it inside his wrapper. As he made his way back to the village, he felt stronger and he felt firmer. His eyes became brighter. And what he did not know was this: the golden calabash was more than just a magical treasure. It was a test. Life changed for Okoro after he brought the golden calabash home. There was no more hunger, no more stress, no more sweating under the sun in the fields. Each morning, he will pull out the golden calabash from under his bamboo bed and began to sing. Golden calabash, my shining star, give me akara and custard in a jar. And just like that, poof, a tray of hot akara, custard, fried egg and even pap with milk would appear, steaming and just perfect for him. At first, Okoro was very grateful. He still tried to go to the farm, though still weak. He felt he could still farm, so he went to the farm. He continued farming. But after a week of living in comfort and going to the farm, his thoughts began to change. He looked out through the window one morning, watching his fellow farmers march to the field with their hoe on their shoulders. Rain threatening the sky, the sun was just rising, mosquito was still buzzing from the night before, and Okoro, he was sipping hot tea with chinchi, with his leg crossed like a village chief. He then chuckled. Why am I even stressing myself? For what now? When I can just sit here and sing to the calabash and anything I want will appear. Then, that was the moment that greed crept into Okoro's heart. The next day, he asked for clothes, expensive agbadas, shiny sandals, perfume, and boom, it all appeared. He even asked for fresh fish, roasted goat's meat, palm wine, boom, it all appeared. He asked for everything he could dream of that he could never afford. Soon, he stopped going to the farm completely. Villagers began to wonder, how come Okoro is no more struggling? How come he's looking like a prince? How come his skin is shining and his stomach is always round and big? His clothes look so fine. What is it? What is happening? But Okoro kept his secrets from everyone. He became proud, boastful, and withdrawn. No more community meetings, no more helping the neighbors, no more going to the market, no more going to the farm. He built high fence around his hut. He sat home one day, making wishes, then it became a normal routine. Day after day, Okoro would make wishes, and the golden calabash kept delivering until one day, he got too bold. He sat back in his wooden chair, rubbed his hands together and said, golden calabash, my treasure so bright, bring me a chest of gold this night and I shall thank you forever. He laughed so loud, dreaming of how he would live like a king, hire servants, and even maybe marry 3 wives. But instead of gold, black smoke burst out from the calabash. The room darkened. The air became thick. Before Okoro could move, 2 strong invisible canes appeared and began to flog him. Wipe! 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 He screamed and ran out of his house, holding his head and shouting, "Hey, whoa, my enemy, oh, someone help me." But no one could see the canes. The villagers gathered, watching him shout, and they looked at him in surprise as if he was a madman. Then they began to whisper, Okoro has gone mad. Oh. Is he crazy? Why is he shouting? Desperate, he ran into his farm, the one he had abandoned for months, and then the cane stopped flogging him. Panting and sweating, he peeked out of his farmland. He took a cautious step out. Then the next thing he had was whap! And a heavy knock landed on his head. He jumped right back into his farm. And then he wondered again. and stayed there for some minutes. Then he thought the cane had stopped. Then he looked right, looked left, put one leg out of his farm and then the next. And before he knew, he got a loud bang on his head. Boom! Then the message was clear. The calabash was forcing him to return back to work. Tears welled up in his eyes and then he shouted, "Okay, oh, I get it, I get it. I will work, I will farm. No more laziness. No more asking for things I can't afford. Please don't flog me again." Instantly, the cane stopped flogging him and the black smoke that was pursuing him cleared and the wind became calm. Then he returned home. When he got home, the golden calabash was shattered all into pieces on the floor. Okoro sat in his compound, staring at the broken calabash. His once shining agbada was now stained with dust and tears. His mansion dreams gone, his daily feast gone, the fame and comfort he thought he would have all gone. But surprisingly, Okoro felt peace. For the first time in weeks, the village bird sounded sweeter. The scent of wet earth made him smile. The thought of holding a hoe and tilling the ground no longer frightened him. He stood up, stretched, and whispered to himself, "There is dignity in labor. The lazy man may enjoy for a while, but he will cry for a lifetime." He returned back to his farm the next morning. At first it was hard because his muscles had grown old. His arms now ached and his palm blistered. The neighbor laughed behind his back, saying, "See Oga Okoro, his enjoyment don't stop. He don't turn farmer again." But Okoro didn't mind. Every evening, he would return home with yams, maize, and cassava on his head, sweat on his face, but his smiles were genuine, and his heart was now open. A few months later, his farm began to flourish more again. The soil seemed richer, and the crops grew faster. One day, while harvesting, he found something strange buried in the earth. It was a new calabash, but this time it was plain, ordinary and wooden, not golden. He lifted it gently and said, "This time I will use my hand, not magic." Okoro took the calabash, filled it with roasted groundnut and gave it to the children passing by. From that day, he became known not as the man who had the golden calabash, but Okoro the wise man who lost everything but gained in wisdom. He would often gather children under the mango tree and say, "Children, don't wish to skip the journey of life. Even if a golden calabash fall from heaven, never abandon hard work. What you don't earn, you won't value." The children would laugh, eat his groundnut and chant together, "Work is sweeter, greed is bitter. Golden calabash, you give me blister. I don't want you, I will work for my own." And so this ends the story of Okoro. He was a man who was tested by wealth, corrected by invisible cane, and blessed by the value of labor. Subscribe to our channel.